Thank you for favor, oh God. God, if I had 10,000 tongues, I couldn't say enough thank yous and I couldn't praise you enough. So in this song, I'll simply tell you I love you. And God, I thank you for everything you've done. Lord, there's so many things that you've done for me. Blessings unconditional, they seem to overtake me. Your hand of mercy proving faithful and true. Jesus, how can I express my thanks to you for your grace and kindness, oh, agent of days. I'll give you thanks, oh Lord, now and always. Oh, I just want to say thank you for your love. Thank you. Thank you for the blood. Thanks to you for all of the times that you brought me through. Lord, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your grace. Thank you, Lord, for keeping me safe. Thanks to you that I can share the good news of a Savior, to give someone a reason just to tell you thanks. Oh Lord, yeah, thank you, Lord. Lord, it's not enough to give a simple praise to the one who has blessed me in so many ways. Nothing I can say or do could really show my gratitude to you, Lord. One God, one love, one faith. To you I give you praise. Three blessed Trinity, you mean so much to me. And you showered me with love, even when I turned away. Lord, I could never repay you, so I'll just say I just want to say thank you for your love. Thank you for the blood. Thanks to you for all of the times that you brought me through. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your grace. Thank you, Lord, for keeping me safe. Thanks to you that I can share the good news of a Savior, to give someone a reason just to tell you for your love. Lord, I thank you for the blood. Thanks to you for all of the times that you brought me through. Lord, I thank you for your grace. Lord, for keeping me safe. And I can share the good news of a Savior, to give someone a reason just to tell you thanks. Oh, Lord, thank you.
All right. All right. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. And good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of Truly Live with your co-host, Oliver. And where's Yolanda? Well, it's quite obviously that I am on this solo journey tonight, and I miss my partner, and duty calls for her to be with her dad in a medical situation. She is really disappointed that she's not going to be here tonight. However, the show Truly Live must go on, and so we are here. Our special guest is backstage, and he is so rared up and excited about sharing in our community tonight. We're excited that you are here. We're just so happy and we're just so grateful for this present moment because, this is the only moment that we have. We can't go back and do anything about the past. We can't live into the future. So this now present moment is all that we have. So let's make the best of it tonight for this hour of Truly Live, where we share what we think is very relevant and important information that leads to transformation that empowers you to live your best life. And we share a whole lot of love. So thank you for joining us. And before we bring uh, Jeff onto the stage, just a couple of housekeeping items. Uh, if you have, this is an engaging talk program that we have put together to add value to our community and to build goodwill into our community. So as you engage in the conversation tonight, because this is a conversation, feel free to use the comments or the chat, whether you're on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, because we're in all of these digital streets tonight. And just feel free to jump in on the conversation. Or if you have questions, you can put them in the chat or in the comment field, depending on which platform you're on, and we'll try to get to those questions as we go forward. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge our patrons and uh, thank you for being here with us tonight. Who is a patron? Patrons, those that really believe in what Yolanda and I do. They support the vision that we have, and so they have made a commitment to join with us to help us to get our message of the real you out into the marketplace, out into the community, out into people's lives, right? So when we're here, we are about helping others to get unstuck from whatever you think you might be stuck in, and so that you can create a life that you absolutely love. Other than that, my grandson is here with me tonight. He was a little stage shy, so he said, "No, G Poppy, I'll just sit over in the corner and watch. What is it? What are you watching tonight? Bland or Raz or Pop Patrol or something like that." But anyway, so he's going to sit quietly for an hour. He promised me that. And then after the show, we're going to have some ice cream. All right. And so if this is your first time viewing our uh, live stream, we're here every second and fourth Thursday of the month. This is the fifth Thursday. And generally on the fifth Thursday, we will have a guest. And, uh, and so what we do as performance elite life coaches is we provide personal development services in different formats, mostly virtually, to get to that individual that is looking to transform their life and to make changes in their life to get their life to that place that they know they deserve to be, so that they can have that expression of themselves so that they can bless the world, because that's why we're all here. We're here to be a blessing through our gifts and our talents. And so this is the way Yolanda and I show up. You take a farm girl from the northern part of the state, and then you take a project kid from the southern part of the rural part of the state, and you put them together, you get this expression we call Truly Live. And so we're so delighted to be here to serve you. So without any further delay, I am going to bring Jeff on. And as I bring Jeff on the stage here, hello, Jeff.
Hey, Oliver.
My,
Hey.
my friend, we've been looking forward to this.
Yeah. Oh, what a pleasure to be here. Thank you very, very much.
Yes. And we had Jeff in as a guest in season 1. We're in season 3 now, Jeff. And you have always been one of our community's favorite because of the value that you brought to us through your wisdom, your knowledge, and your demonstration. And we're gonna before I get into that, let me just kind of set a small foundation, and I'll let you kind of introduce yourself. But I'm going to say these things about it. We've been blessed tonight with not only a fellow entrepreneur and coach, but a friend. His name is Jeff Bailey, and Jeff is the founder and owner of AVITA Yoga. Jeff is a Rolfer. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Rolfer, yeah.
Certified Rolfer, yoga student. I think he's a lifetime student. He's a yoga instructor and teacher. He's a business owner, a husband, a father, a speaker, a podcaster, a blogger. With all of that, he's definitely an influencer and a creator that leads to healing. And so he is also a healer in his own right. Jeff is married to Lori for 30 years, I believe. Sometime in August, be 31.
Yeah.
Okay, see, I did my homework now.
Yes, sir. You did. Yeah.
And Jeff and Lori currently reside in Boulder, Colorado. I think they are Coloradans by nature. And when I saw that on your page that you are a Rolfer, I said, let me, I don't understand. I have never heard that term before. So I looked it up, and it says one who uses touch and movement to support their clients in improving their posture and movement patterns. And so Jeff brings over 38 years of experience in the field of studying and being a practitioner and an instructor of yoga, to the point that he developed his own style of yoga called AVITA Yoga. And it is so much different than the traditional yoga, which is where they focus just on stretch and strengthening. But Jeff goes even further to identify and remove blocks that we all deal with physically, psychologically, and mentally and spiritually, to bring us into a greater awareness, right? So that the end result that we can all experience what we call peace of mind. And who wouldn't want a little peace of mind these days, right?
That's it.
So with that said, I present to you, Jeff Bailey.
Wow. Thank you so much, Oliver. Yeah, wow, what a beautiful introduction. Earlier when you opened the show, there were two things that really jumped out at me right away. And you talked about healing now. You used the word now, and now happens to be the first word of the entire book of the Yoga Sutras. And the first Yoga Sutra is now we practice. And a lot of people just think that's rolling out your mat and dedicating some time to move your body around and do this thing called yoga. But now is everything. We can only heal now. We can't heal yesterday, and we can't heal tomorrow. And we can say, oh no, I'll forgive my parents for the way they raised me up. I'll do that next year, or I'll do that tomorrow. We can't, or we could say it was so horrific in the past, I can't unwind all that. But no. That is our yoga. And it's just a beautiful thing. And whether it's in the body, or it's in the mind, or it's in our life, or it's emotional, or whatever it is, it really doesn't matter. It's all the same. And so that we just start to have this gentle commitment of, to use your words, Oliver, now is all we have. Now I'm going to practice, whether I'm on my yoga mat or not. And it reminds me of a funny line a friend of mine would say. We co-authored a book a long time ago, and he would say, when you can't do the yoga you prefer, all becomes yoga. And I love that line. I live by it. And in a way, the yoga never stops. And then the other thing that you said, Oliver, that I really love, you basically define the entire practice with the word now. And then the other thing that you said is, we're here to help you get unstuck. That's beautiful. That is everything. And if we stop and think about it, that's what we're all here to do. I want to unstick myself. I want to recognize the blockages, not just in my body, but more importantly in my mind, that are keeping me from being my real self. And I can say, Oliver, that the list of things that you went through, the things that this Jeff Bailey seems to have accomplished in this life, is only because I've gotten out of my way. It's such a joy to allow the real me, or the real you, let the real self, which is happy and peaceful and guided and loving and okay with everything. You just have to, when that comes through, amazing things happen,
Yes.
as you know.
Yes.
And that is why we're here. It's why you and I are talking. It's why you have your show. It's why I have this thing called AVITA Yoga. It's why we are on this planet, is to heal. That's called healing.
Yes.
It's to realize our true self. And how do we realize that but unwind the blockages to it? That is the timeless formula. Rumi said, seek not for love, seek, find, and remove the barriers to love. That's prevalent through A Course in Miracles. It's in the Yoga Sutras. It's in the Advaita Vedanta. It's everywhere. And so you want me to keep talking? I'll just keep rolling.
Yeah. Well, let me preface here. I shared earlier this week on my platforms my experience with you.
Yeah.
When I met you in a conference, you were speaking in a segment and you were presenting your brand of yoga, because most of us, when we hear the word yoga, I mean, we all have this preconceived image and idea of what yoga is, right? Some getting into some type of stretching, impossible position that most of us can't get into, and it's only for a few. That's kind of the ideal, that the majority, right, of humanity may have some kind of limited image about yoga. So after meeting you and experiencing your approach, I had, at the time, I was having lower back pain, and I'm a golfer. I'm a 40-something-year golfer, and I was having extremely bad experience with lower back pain that were restricting my golfing and restricting a lot of things. It really was it was causing me to be uncomfortable, not only physically but mentally, right? Because we're in these we are integrated beings, and so what affects one part of our life affects all of our life. I mean, if we be honest with ourselves.
That's
And
right.
so just embracing your basic idea of yoga in terms of, it's about understanding the energy that's already in the body, and that if we will allow that energy to flow freely, then the body will heal itself. The energy that we are will heal itself. And I know you work with bones and joints, right? And
Yeah.
other parts of the physical body. And by you showing me that one position to get in, by
Yeah.
laying flat on my back, legs up on the wall, I did that for about 7 to 10 days, for about 30 minutes a day. This was 2 years ago, 2 years ago. And since that point, I have experienced absolutely no back pain. All that I was experienced prior to that, it just dissipated. So obviously, I was able to remove what whatever blocking, right, the normal function of my backs, my joints, by listening to what you had to share. And so I have experienced your Avita Yoga as a real experience, right? And so it's a healing approach that you take, whereas we don't normally think of yoga as healing, probably more preventive. But what you actually shared was a way to get unstuck, to get unblocked, and to get back into the freedom that we can richly enjoy. And so
Yeah.
I just shared that, and so I know the value in what you bring to the health community
Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
individual lives. And then at the base of that, you said, well, the real target or the real result that we're looking for is peace of mind. And
That's it.
yeah.
That's how we get the best results in anything. If you want the best result in your relationships, the best result in your workplace, the best result in when you're traveling or whatever, or if you're whatever we're doing, if we just say, first, I want peace of mind, it opens us up to the love and the light that is the source of healing, and the guidance, and then everything just comes through. So I say it periodically in the classes. I say it fairly often, just as a gentle reminder, peace is the goal. And it might be a bad shoulder, it might be a low back, it might be a bad knee or something like that gets me into the practice. And we're going to work with that shoulder. We're going to work with whatever it is that brings you into the yoga practice, for sure. And we, like you have experienced, we can get some pretty amazing results. And I'll talk about how we do that in a second. But having peace of mind is the backdrop for anything to give us the best results. It helps remove us from our own argument. That's what it does. And so you mentioned Rolfing. Rolfing was my best yoga teacher training ever. I had been into yoga for quite a while before that. I gravitated to the Rolfing world because of the things you mentioned. It works with posture and alignment. But what makes it unique is that it targets fascia and the connective tissue. And where does the connective tissue, where is it the most prevalent? Where does it tend to accumulate the most? But around the joints, around and near the joints. It's where the muscles start to converge and turn into tendons and bones. And it's the joints that lack mobility. It's the joints that get arthritis. It's the joints that start to get degeneration. It's the joints that get us into the hospitals to get replacements and surgeries and things like that. So the question is, how do we get to the bones and the joints? Well, we've got to work through the soft tissues to get there. But flexibility, you mentioned this earlier too. Most yoga and most fitness paradigms go for flexibility and strength. Flexibility and strength, it's all you see. We go for mobility and health at the level of the bones and joints. So in every instant, in every shape, in everything we do, we target the bones and the joints. And in targeting them, we may target the knee, for example. And we want to, how do we know if a knee is healthy? Well, it has full flexion and full extension, and there's no pain. And so if this is your knee, and this joint is get it where you can see the best. If that's a knee joint right there, this knuckle, and it only goes that far, then as we work on it and get it to go fuller into its full expression, full flexion, full extension, it gets better. And we have built-in physiology. I can talk about it later if we want to go into that detail. I can talk about the exact physiology we have that cleans up and makes our bones and joints stronger. But it's built in. We just have to stimulate it. And what stimulates it? But kind, consistent pressure. And that has nothing to do with strength and stretch. And you can see my yoga mat here behind me. This is where I practice. This is where I teach from, and everything is online these days. And I can demonstrate some shapes a little bit later. But that's a little bit about the practice and what it is.
Yeah, wow. And so this whole AVITA yoga approach has evolved as you have evolved, right?
Hmm.
And um but the average normal person, oh no, normal, what's normal these days? But the uneducated or uninspired person where this field of yoga is concerned would he would ask the question, well, what do I do? What am I gonna do about
Yeah,
this
what do I
pain
do?
in my wrist? What I'm gonna do about, what about this pain in my elbow? You said joints, but that's where my pain is. So
There it is.
you have identified, but what is the cure? I mean, all I know is these traditional solutions that sometimes leads to replacements
That's right.
or amputations, or we just have to live with the pain. Jeff, what can you share with me today that I could really begin to like practice on my own and begin to see some results and
Yeah.
progress?
Yeah. I'll speak to that. Most of the time when we hear yoga, we think of the image that I still get today is some some person in their 20s on some beach, the beautiful sunset in the background, doing some fantastic pose, and it's beautiful. It's like watching a something at ballet or something like that. And so we conjure up those ideas and we say, no, I can't do that. I can't do yoga. And that's true for what I call that contemporary yoga.
Right.
But the only requirement for this yoga is to be able to get up and down off the floor. We do a lot of the work on the floor. And the other thing, this is a key ingredient, Oliver, is if I have this issue, if I have this pain, then we're so conditioned by the media and by marketing and even by a lot of the medical world now, we're conditioned to just get rid of the pain. You take an Advil for starters, and that reduces inflammation. As the inflammation goes down, the pain goes away. Well, guess what? We have inflammation for a reason. The inflammation is there because it's your body doing its best to heal and clean up the problem. So an anti-inflammatory will take away the pain because it takes away the inflammation, but it does nothing to promote healing. And so then the pain goes away, and then we get on with our activities and we just think, oh, everything's good now. But pain is an extremely poor indicator of health. Or I could say it this way, the severity of pain or the degree of pain is a very poor indicator of the severity of a problem, whether you're healthy or not. It's like, how long does it, when does a tooth start hurting? Just before you decide to go to the dentist, right?
Yes.
But how long has that problem been building up in the tooth? A long, long time. So we actually, in this practice, we learn to actually welcome the feedback. I'll call it feedback. And sometimes in class, a little tongue in cheek, people say, that's, enough with the euphemisms, Jeff. This is painful. Like, okay, well, if it's outright pain, you've got to back off. You've got to pull out, because Oliver, there's only one skill you have to learn in AVITA yoga. It's not how to stand on one foot. It's not about putting your hands behind your back or some crazy. There's no skills like that. The only skill you have to learn in AVITA yoga is this. How do I discern the difference between pain and healing sensation? I can see your eyes rolling around.
No,
And it's like, whoa.
it's
Okay.
the truth. Yeah, because we don't know the difference.
We do not know the difference.
No.
And we're so conditioned. The moment we get a little pain, for example, you're in the kitchen and you reach up on the top shelf to go for a mug that's up on the top, and you get a little glitch in your shoulder, and you just pull back. We react, we pull back, and then we say, the voice says, don't do that again. Use your other arm, or get some help, or get a stool. Okay, a couple days later you might forget and you try it again, and you're successful, but then another time, it's back. And after 2 or 3 of those, you stop. It's sort of common sense, right? But if a restriction in the body that starts to close in on our movement is no different than an irrational belief in our heart and mind. As you know, if once we get a negative, irrational belief in our mind, and we start, stereotyping or this and that, our lives get narrower and narrower and narrower. Our field of focus narrows, and we stop having as much fun. Well, it's the same thing in the body. If I stop reaching for the top shelf, then the impingement only gets stronger. The body starts laying in more and more fascia and connective tissue to try to remedy the situation. All it knows how to do at that stage of the game is put down more scar tissue. And meanwhile, the problem is still inside somewhere, going unresolved. So this is the remarkable thing that I think is a radical paradigm shift. Even if this, when you think there's nothing new, to me, this is radically new. And here it is, quite simply. Number one, learn the difference between pain and healing sensation, and don't be afraid to move into what you might think is a little bit of pain. But you'll know it's healing sensation as you start to move into it a little bit, because you're present, you're in the here and now, and you start moving into it. And there it is. But I'm going to stay right there. I'm not going to push on it. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to worry. I'm just going to stay there. It takes 7 seconds for your body to start. When we put pressure on bones, let me start that sentence over. When we put pressure on bones, it takes 7 seconds for the physiology to kick in and start building bone and densifying bone.
Wow.
Very quick. That's why bones love pressure. Bones need pressure, otherwise they get rubbery and soft. It takes about 70 seconds, it takes longer to start to remodel the fascia and the connective tissue. And that's why we spend usually about 1.5 minutes, sometimes 2 minutes, sometimes longer, depending on the shape. We spend that amount of time in these shapes. And then you say to yourself, oh my God, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes in a yoga shape? I can't do that. Okay, forget it. Forget your idea about what yoga is, because most of the yoga we do here is on the floor, and every single shape we put ourselves in a friendly relationship to gravity so that we can confidently and sustainably be in a shape long enough to trigger the inner healing physiology that starts to literally remodel our joints. And that word remodel, that's a medical term. The whole medical world knows what remodeling is. And we're not talking about your house, but it's the same idea inside your joints and inside your bones. They will literally remodel themselves given the right circumstances. And this yoga is about getting those circumstances.
Wow. So let's get this clear. So the healing and the restoration, or the remodeling, is already present within all of us.
We have all the physiology. Yep. You got all the tools.
Because we've all heard, well, the body will heal itself. Or we've heard that at different levels, but we've understood it very minimally. So the joints, the tissue around the joints, that lead up to the bones and the joints. All these parts have healing agents in them, but basically what you're saying, they get blocked by us
They get
using
blocked.
not understanding the difference between the pain and the healing sensations.
Yeah, they get blocked because we stop using them.
You
It's
lose it.
it's the
You lose it.
entire use it or lose it. It's
Use
a
it, lose it.
universal principle. Very few people will argue with the principle, use it or lose it. You know, you to take a door hinge. If you stop moving that door hinge for 10 years and you suddenly decide to go open that door, it will not open the way it did on day one. Okay? Time has a way of degrading everything. And so everything in our body requires use in order to stay happy and healthy. And if I stop reaching overhead, like I was, my wife and I were at a hot springs in Colorado. We were at Glenwood Hot Springs about 3 or 4 months ago, and we were enjoying the hot springs, and we saw this group of people in their 60s and 70s doing water aerobics. And this is what they were doing. It was like I wanted to just run out and go get my video camera, but I didn't. There must have been 30 of them there. It's a big pool. All 30 of these people, when they were doing the arm exercises, this is what they were doing. And I'm not beating anybody up. It's just an observation. And that's how I've learned this yoga is I observe and observe and observe, and I watch people move. I watch their patterns. And then in my classroom, where I've had thousands of people go through my classroom in Boulder, I ask questions. What do you feel? What are you feeling right now? And the answers are all over the map, and quite often quite astonishing. It looks painful, but it's not. Anyway, that's how we learn. We ask questions, and I've asked zillions of questions. But this is the movement they were doing. And they'd have little weights in their hands, like 2 or 3 pound weights. They're strengthening their muscles. They're doing a little bit of movement. They're having a good time. They're carrying on conversations. You know, the music's going loud. What's happening? Nothing. There's nothing happening for those shoulders. If you want to get into that shoulder, you have to do one at a time. So in AVITA Yoga, I really try to give the brain or the mind one thing to work on at a time. And if you have one, like one shoulder is usually much more painful and restricted than another one. So that's the shoulder we work with. We may do them both at the same time on something, but it's always, almost always the one thing that we really focus on and practice peace with it, by the way. So it would be moving into that restriction until, oh, there it is. There's my limit. And then you got to stay there. Now, right now, I'm fighting gravity. I can't stay here that long. I can't stay here long enough and be at peace and get to the problem in the shoulder and give it time to reorganize and heal like this. I'll show you how we do it here in a second. But just so you can see, I'm 60 years old. I was way into racket sports as a kid. I've been very athletic most of my life. Had lots of mountain bike accidents and ski accidents. I've landed on my shoulders. I've landed on my head. I smashed my hip so hard in a ski accident once. Actually, that's what led to the awareness of this practice. Those are long and kind of interesting stories, but they've taught me a lot. And I guess the reason I'm saying that now is because at what I've done to my body over the years, I should not be able to reach overhead fully. And I've worked through all kinds of issues in my shoulders and my knees and my hips. And I'll show you, this is full range of motion of your shoulder. It's bringing the arm to the ear and the elbow perfectly straight. Now, it has the ability to go a little bit further if you get your head out of the way. So if we go back, it can go further. But it's toward the midline and directly overhead. So there it is with like, can you clap your hands together above your head and have your elbows perfectly straight and sustain it for a little while? And if you can't do that, or if you come out of it and you feel a little stickiness or something like that, then there's your yoga. And is this impressive? Not at all. That's not impressive yoga. But man, what a gift to be able to maintain full range of motion of this circumnavigational joint. It's a circumnavigational means it goes in every possible direction, same as the hip. To be able to keep that range of motion for a lifetime, that's the goal. And as we get into our 60s and 70s and 80s, I have students in their 90s that are still practicing with me. And they walk like 20-year-olds. They have these beautiful walks, and I've watched them work through all kinds of stuff in their knees and their hips. It's just amazing. But here's the goal. And when you're 20 years old and you're doing yoga on the beach and you're standing on your hands and doing all this fancy stuff, you're not thinking about this goal that I'm going to tell you. And it's and I fit that description. In my 20s, if somebody told me this goal, I would just laugh in their face. But at some point along the way, we have to get so practical about the yoga. And it happened to me after that bad hip injury. That's when I realized, you know what? I prefer to keep my joints. I know that there's been a lot of advancement in joint replacement, and I have a lot of students who've gone ahead and got the replacements, but the yoga is just as important after the replacement as it is before. And that's another story. But here's the goal. I'd like to keep my joints, the ones I was born with, I'd like to keep them for my whole life. That's my preference. And I'd like to be able to get dressed in the morning all by myself for the rest of my life. I'd like to just be able to go out and go for a nice walk for the rest of my life. I'd like to be able to do my own grocery shopping for the rest of my life. And a lot of us, Oliver, a lot of people, the way the body in recent years, it hasn't always been this way, but as it starts to break down and we get caught up in our medical insurance policies and we start making plans for living in assisted living and stuff like that, there's a better way. Or let me just say, there's another way if you catch it soon enough. And to me, this is as common sense as brushing your teeth. You know, let's face it, when people, I don't know when the first toothbrush came out, but I should. My wife is a dentist. I'll ask her and see if she knows. But, you know, at some point, we had to make a decision that brushing our teeth was a good thing, and doing it a couple times a day would pay off.
Yes.
And maybe flossing once in a while. And at some point we decided, you know, we had to learn, taking a bath occasionally is a good thing, you know? And so my ideal is the way I am with my body, and so is my wife. We do our yoga 3 times a week. It's about 3 hours a week is all you need to stay in maintenance mode and keep these movements for the rest of your life. And the way the sequences are set up is it takes you through a whole series. It's a long series of classes. You don't have to, they're not long like you have to go through them all. They're long so you never get bored. They're different. And they're designed to take us head to toe through every single joint. We don't leave anything out. Fingers, toes, wrists, your neck, certainly knees, hips, and shoulders. Those are the big ones. But another thing you said early on, Oliver, is that once anything starts to deteriorate in our life, whether it's an idea or a thought in our head or a part of our body, it affects everything.
Yes.
So if my toe gets stiff, it's going to affect my hip and my knee. So I got to keep my toes healthy.
Yes. Absolutely.
So that's it. It's really simple.
And eventually it works all the way up to taking up space in our thought life, taking our focus away from the natural propensity of being happy and healthy, right, and loving, because of that pain and not having the discernment to know what that feedback is saying to us, or denying it or suppressing it, because it's a lack of knowledge. It's a lack of awareness. And you being here sharing this with us is very healthy, very wealthy information. And so if you jumped on since we started at the 7:00 hour, I'm here with Jeff Bailey, who is a friend, who is an expert in his own right, has his own approach to yoga that focuses on the final result is peace of mind, but we work through the body, right? Because the body is the mechanism. It's a communication device, is what the Course in Miracles tells us. So that means the body is always talking to us. It's always speaking to us, right? And if we don't understand the language, like you said, we don't know how to discern the pain versus the healing sensations, then our only option is to turn to the medical community, right? And to go for the medicine, go for the surgeries, go for the replacements, just anything to get rid of this pain.
Yeah.
And then, but if the goal is to be able to dress myself the rest of my life, right? To be able to shop for myself the rest of my life, to do the basic things, and have the mobility to do it.
Comfortably, drive a car comfortably. Yeah.
Then like you say, here is another way or a better way, right? And a lot of the things that you do with AVITA yoga, we can do this in the privacy of our own home.
That's right. Yeah.
And if we want to go deeper, we'll talk about it later, then we can actually get help in that area. So
yeah, and what does it cost to get started?
Wow.
Virtually nothing.
So so Jeff is with us. If you have a question concerning maybe some physical challenge you have, and put it in the chat or in a comment. I mentioned it to you earlier. Like, that back issue was the first time in 63 years that I ever had a medical issue that mobilized me or demobilized me, until I went through the experience with you, and I don't have that issue anymore. Well, I haven't had another issue until within the last 4 to 6 months, to where it first started with my wrist, the joint here, my wrist, very sore to bend. It's just sore to bend. It's really sore, right? It's giving me feedback, and I'm not being able to discern the sensation, right? I'm learning tonight. And then just very recently, I joined the gym, just doing light stuff, right? Just want to increase my flexibility and mobility. And one day he brought this new piece of equipment in there, and it's this leg extension thing where you take the weight on you and you extend your leg forward with weight on it. I did that twice, and it's like something happened to my knees.
Yeah.
And they have not been right for the last 6 weeks, to the point where they're so stiff, can't bend them to the extent that I used to be. And I've never had, the restriction. And it began to affect the way I thought about what's happening to me, because I could not discern the sensation.
Yeah.
So everybody probably listening here tonight got some type of joint pain or deterioration or limited mobility. So how do you?
Yeah, and if you
try to speak to that, yes.
And if you think you don't, if you don't have joint pain, then this may sound kind of funny, but it's important that we make sure. And how do we make sure? Is we want to find it. We think of this as like joint and bone exploration, and that's what these shapes do. I'll demonstrate some here in a second, but that's what we want to do. I'd find in my shoulder, I think, well, let's make sure. And what I demonstrated here sitting on the floor, and working against gravity, that don't even, I did that as to show the range of motion, but that is not the shape that's going to help you. That's not the work. Pushing weights overhead is not going to solve the problem. And I'll say that I've basically committed now for 10 years. It's been 10 years, actually 12 years, that I've made this commitment to my bones and my joints. And in that 10 or 12 years, I have pretty much eliminated all strength activities. A bit of an experiment, because I just want to live what I'm talking about and be my own project. I'm too old not to go do a PhD on this. I'm not going to do that, but there's lots of good PhD studies here if somebody ever wanted to take it on. But what I'm saying, Oliver, is there's enormous benefit at some point in the later stages of life where we say, I'm done trying to strengthen my body. All I want to do is keep my bones and my joints happy and healthy. And by the way, here's one of my, it's a Jeffism. That my students say I have Jeffisms. What I'll say is, when you take care of your bones, your muscles take care of themselves. We just didn't realize we have a way to take care of our bones and our joints. And your muscles stay just fine. They have nice tonicity. They have nice resiliency. They have plenty of inherent strength. We all have plenty of inherent strength. It's just that there's blockages to strength, and it's usually a bit of pain that keeps us feeling weak. And so we got to address that. We got to get right into that pain. We got to get right into whatever it is that's short-circuiting our strength, instead of trying to build it up and reinforce it. It just covers it up. So would you like me to talk about knees, or should we talk about your wrist?
We can talk about knees. We can talk about wrists. We can talk about ankles. We can talk about the joints in our fingers. We can talk about the elbow. Anywhere there's a joint. Yes, my wrist. Yes.
Let's show me. So because of you have, I don't know if you can tell this, but hold it up high and show me exactly where it is. Okay.
It's right
on the back.
It's right in the bend. Yes.
Right of your thumb.
Hand. Yeah. It's right back. It's right here in the bend of the hand.
Okay. Not the thumb, but
not
in the wrist.
Thumb, but right. Yes.
Okay. So
it's in the joint.
There's just a couple things we can do here online, just in this kind of candid situation, and that might help. So if you just hold your hand up and let it relax like that, and then you take your other hand and you start to add pressure to it, like increasing the flexion.
Lots of pain.
There's your yoga, Oliver. It's that simple. And so now you want to figure out. So stop for just a second. Let me demonstrate. So we know now you go into the pain. There it is. Now, we also start to learn, what is the quality of the pain? Does it feel arthritic? Does it feel like it's in the joint? Is it an adjacent muscle? Tell me anything else about the pain.
There is a bone here.
Yeah.
And when I touch that bone in a particular spot, it's like touching a nerve. It is sharp.
Do you actually get a zinger? Does it shoot a nerve pain?
Yes. It's almost like, and it's almost like,
so
it's almost like Yes, it's the joint, it's the muscle, it's all that area. It's not that one bone there on the right outside of your hand, but it's more that bone that's below your thumb,
Yeah. Okay.
right there. And yeah,
Okay. Now let's do it. So if it's nervy, if it's shooting nerve pain, like further down into your fingers or up into your shoulder,
no, it doesn't do that.
it's not
It's all located right here.
right there. Okay.
Yes.
So it's just sharp pain, but it's not radiating nerve pain.
No, it's not.
Okay, good. Because nerve pain, if you ever get into nerve pain that's kind of shooty and radiates like that, then you have to go super, super slow. And usually we want to work somewhere else, but it's not that. So let's do a couple other things. Now, so what you just did was passive with one hand bringing it in. Now I want you to go active. No hand, just use only the painful wrist. Take your left hand away. Now go into it. Flexion. Pain?
Not like it's not nowhere near when I
Okay.
put the weight down on it with my other hand. Yes.
See? Here's a huge insight. Active flexion. So like this, so audience, a little teachable moment. Flexion is when body parts come closer together. So right now I'm flexing my fingers. Extension is when body parts move further away from themselves. So we want active and passive flexion and extension of every joint in the body because they have different qualities, as you just showed us. This is active flexion. You're making a fist and you're flexing on it. And here you will be able to really clearly discern what healing sensation is, Oliver. You're just going to, if you were, you don't have to do this right now, but maybe after the show, when you go and have the ice cream with John, you can sit there and close your eyes for a second and give it about a minute and flex your fingers, flex your wrist, and go right into the pain. And then you'll know, wow, that's healing sensation. I can be here for a minute and tolerate it, no problem. Sometimes the pain completely disappears. That doesn't mean we push for more. You just stay right there, practice peace. And then after a minute, minute and a half, you do not interfere with what comes next. What comes next? You relax. You slowly open up your wrist. And you get on with your day. You just do what's next. If we were doing yoga, we'd go to another part of the body, and we'd do something else. And the sequences are put together so we can just have a nice flow through various joints. And there's a lot to that, but I make it really simple for people to follow along. So now,
I like that.
see, because the physiology is still working. Here's the reason I'm saying that is that people go in, you might go into it, and then when you come out, you get in a hurry. You just, oh, it hurts coming out. No. Going into the shape, being in the shape, and coming out of the shape is all the yoga. So I want to stay present as I come out. And then most people want to stretch and shake it out, stuff like that. No, that interferes with the physiology that's healing. So you just rest. You just
But
do
that's
nothing.
what we have seen, and that's kind of what we've been taught.
Totally. It's a knee-jerk reaction. So, I say that in classes. You're going to want it, as you come up out of the shape, you're going to want it, I call it erasing the sensation. You're going to want to erase the sensation. Don't. Just be with it. It's very calming to sit with that. It's really, really good for the mind to sit with that and stay with it. So there's one part of your practice, Oliver, for this wrist.
Right.
The other part is you're going to also do it passively. You're going to do it the way we did first, and now this time you know it's going to get painful. So go very, very slow. Just touch a tiny bit on the pain and don't go any further. Be very, very kind to yourself. See, now we can see the peace in your face. This is powerful. Here you are dealing with this thing, and if it's a knee or a neck or a shoulder, it's really terrifying because, you know, it can affect our lifestyle more if it's a knee, and so we get really terrified of these kind of things. It's super powerful to go into the sensation, practice peace, and watch all the fear thoughts come up, watch all the anxiety and the worry, and just try to watch it and keep letting it come up. We don't push the fear down. There you go. Okay. And now
So that is so
on
different.
another day, Oliver,
Yes.
yeah,
That is so
that's
different. That
enough
is
for
so
today
different.
on
That's
your
so
wrist. That's
different.
all
Yeah, that's so different from traditional yoga. That's why this is so practical, and more people need to come into the awareness of this, because most of us don't have the knowledge that we have the capacity to work with our bodies and our minds and heal ourselves in the
yeah,
comfort of our own home.
it's really it's simple. Yeah, it's really quite simple.
So
But let me
Jeff,
just finish.
go
Let me,
go ahead. Go ahead.
just real quick with your wrist. Uh, that's enough of that today. You could come back to those same two things tomorrow, and just having a little consistency on your wrist. You can do it daily, but you can also do the same thing with extension. Actively extend. Does that get painful?
It doesn't get any pain going
Spread your
in
thumbs,
extension.
open the fingers,
It
really
doesn't.
open your fingers and thumbs a lot.
I don't get any
Okay, all
pain.
good?
I don't get any pain with the extension.
Okay. And then if you do it passively, you do a little bit of that.
I get no pain with the extension.
Okay.
None.
So you can still do, I recommend doing especially the active one.
Right.
Okay. So there's your three movements that I think are going to help your wrist. Active this way, and passive this way. And once a day for a week or so, and then you could start doing maybe twice a day. But you can see the whole thing's going to take you about 3-4 minutes, and that's it. And then stay
Wow.
in touch with me. We'll find out what happens next. Yeah.
Wow. I will give you an update. Now,
Yeah, I'd love it.
can we
There's
move
more
to
that I can share,
right.
but that's a really good start.
Right. Can we move to another area?
Yeah.
Because there's an epidemic in our country where knees are concerned.
Yeah. It's,
People, when you walk around in the general public, you see the people struggling to walk without a limp, or just they can't walk. They don't feel like they can walk, so they look for the first electronic cart in the grocery store or the wheelchair. I mean, they've given up
I've
on
seen that too.
they've given up
Yeah.
on having their body remodeled like you shared, right? And so let me acknowledge, first of all, some of our patrons are on, and thank you guys for being here, Brenda and Sheila and Sheila asked the question, does Jeff offer online classes? And we'll get to that towards the end of your presentation. And I can say yes, he does. In fact, you move kind of 100% virtual. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm virtual with the exception of yoga festivals. I'm going to a yoga festival in the Berkshires in a couple of weeks, and then I have workshops at various places and retreats. But yeah.
Right. But we'll get into that. And Sheila also says knees. Yes. Let's talk about knees.
Okay. Well, so you understand the principle, right? It's every joint, passive and active movement. And we want to have the passive and active movement until we find the limit. We find the limit, we welcome it, we work, we spend time with it. That's the formula. So let me just make a setting change here. I'm going to change mics. Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very clear.
Okay, good. So for knees, I'm going to have to. All right. Still hear me just fine, right?
Yes.
Okay. So here's the basic shape for the knees. This is the starting point. You lie on your back with your knees bent, your feet on the floor. You can support the head with a firm cushion or a bolster. Then you bring one knee at a time toward the shoulder, and I would start with interlocking the fingers behind the knee, resting the calf on the fingers, and you'll find, most all people find the restriction in the hip. So this is flexion of the hip joint, and we just sink into the restriction in the hip. We spend some time with it, but this tells me that the knee has passive flexion available. Some people, it looks kind of like this. Okay, and then I'd want to know, is there any pain? And if this was doable, then we'd interlock the fingers over the knee. And now I'm adding some compression to my knee, but still, if you do this shape, you'll feel it's largely, the sensation is largely in the hip itself, in the groin. Now, most people, even with a knee issue, can do this. And the flexion is pretty darn good, right? So the flexion is when the knee is closing like this. Now, what does extension look like? Here's extension. This is active extension. I'm just going to have to, I guess I'm just going to have to show you some of these shapes. And if you have a knee issue, you can go to my website, avitayogaonline.com, and I have workshops. They're very inexpensive workshops, and they go into all the detail, all the physiology, and really everything that you would need to take care of a knee. So I hope people go there to get those kind of details, but I'll just do a quick demonstration so you can see how doable it is. But holding your leg, see, my right knee is bent, my right foot is on the floor, the left knee extends, and my knees are the same height. I'm not trying to put my foot behind my head. I'm not doing anything fancy. All I'm doing is actively engaging the quadriceps to get full extension on the knee. It's a very, very safe shape. Now the question is, can you hold it here? Knees the same height. Can you hold this for a couple minutes? 1 minute, minute and a half. It's so good for the knee. And all the time I'm talking, my quadriceps are engaged. I'm just squeezing my quadriceps as strong as I can to keep the knee straight. Well, guess what? I'm flexing the ankle. I'm including the toes. It includes the ankle and everything here. There's a lot going on in a fairly simple shape. Here's the shape that I showed Oliver that changed his golf game. What is this? This is passive extension on both knees at the same time. If you scoot in too close to the wall, like a lot of yoga does, you get in really close. Most people, like even me, I feel my hamstring and my knees won't extend. I can make them extend, and that's okay, but it's not necessary. So we always have a good 12, 15 inches away from the wall. Now I can hang out, and the knees extend passively on their own. So there's active and passive extension of the knee. I demonstrated passive flexion of the knee. And so those things right there are fantastic starting points. Now, what I'm going to show you next will look very scary If you have a knee problem, okay, and let me tell you first that if you've ever driven by a pasture of cows and horses out in the field, you see them laying down. They're sitting on their hooves. Their front legs are all turned under like this. My dad's a veterinarian. I started learning this stuff at a very early age. That's thousands, not thousands, but it's hundreds of pounds coming down into their bones and joints. It's a lot of weight. It's all relative to the animal, of course. But wouldn't that suggest we humans could do the same thing? So here, Oliver, if I was working with you in a private session, I would start with you doing just what I did. So we can all see, I can see and you can feel what is the degree of flexion extension on your knees. Okay. Then, if all that looks good, then I'm going to say, come to all fours. Put the bolster between your feet and slowly, slowly sit back onto the bolster. Now look what I'm doing with my hands. I'm supporting with my hands.
Yes.
And let's say right there, I get into some knee pain, which by the way, I've been stuck here for chunks of time because of arthritis in my knee or some result of an injury. And so I might add some support. Oh, okay. Whoa, wow. All right, I feel, it's okay. It's okay. It's healing sensation. I can be here peacefully. If not, I have to come up and take some weight off. And I teach all my students to support with your hands like this before you go adding support. But eventually, if you do that, eventually you'll get to where you can sit with some support. And then we're talking long-term, we want long-term results, and so we have a long-term practice. Over the long term, you're practicing daily on this knee issue. Wow, I got to where I could remove a block. And then you start slowly sliding the bolster back. Bit by bit, you slide the bolster back until one day you can sit on your heels or you can sit between your heels. And initially, like I said, that can look terrifying if you have a knee issue. And that's because we just let pain rule our lives. But if you take it baby step by baby step at a time and practice peace the whole way, I promise you, you will get results. And you do not have to be able to sit on your heels or the floor to get the results and the benefits. And I often say it this way. You do not have to advance the shape to get the benefits from it. If you never graduate past sitting on a bolster and a block, it matters not. You will start to heal the problem in your knees. So we completely let go of any idea of ever getting better at a shape. I often say it this way. Advances in the shape must come as pleasant surprises, not as a goal. So I say these things because they're true, and I say these things often to help people gain a little confidence to get started and to start inching their way into some shapes and some time in order to get the results. And it's amazing. Once we start stimulating the physiology, it can get better quickly.
Wow, Jeff. I mean, it's like
Helpful?
very helpful. It's just like every other area of our lives where we've been misinformed or have just a lack of awareness.
I just don't think
we get
I don't
stuck
really
in
watch
that.
the animals. You know, that's where just watching animals. You know, if you have a dog or a cat, if you watch them, when they sit down on their back legs, it's full flexion. It's all their weight coming down into their knees and their feet and their hips. And how often do they do that? They do it all day long.
All day
How
long.
often do we squat? Right? How often do we sit like this? And that's the simple squat. And by the way, the squat, if you can squat that and stand up from it, that's a huge sign of health. To be able to squat is nothing we take for granted. So anyway, I'll stop talking for a while.
Wow. Well, I'm telling
Drink of
you,
water.
yeah, I'm telling you, this has been so amazingly enlightening for those that are watching. I'm sure I'm watching reading the comments here, and it's just awareness, right? And everything that you've already shared with us, it can be done without having any, like, you don't have to get in your car and drive somewhere. I mean, these small shapes you already showed us, and it's not about repetition. Like we've been trained, you go to the gym and you do so many reps. Everything is about repetition and over and over and over, to eventually where you're lifting more weights, or you're running faster. But what you're saying is that less is more, right? So what I'm hearing you saying is that less is more with AVITA Yoga.
Less is always more.
Yeah. In fact, let me put up two of your notable quotes.
Okay.
And I think it'll help really reinforce what you've already said. So I'm just gonna share a couple of quotes that really communicate the fundamental principles that you share with your yoga approach to healing. So the first one is, and you've mentioned this earlier in your presentation, bones love pressure. Bones love pressure. What would you say to that?
Well, we all know if an astronaut goes up into space, after just a week or 2 weeks, they come back down and their reentry is traumatic. You can Google this or search it on YouTube and see videos of astronauts coming and getting off of the ship, and they can hardly walk. And it's because their bones have gotten so soft and rubbery. And we're trying to colonize Mars, but forget it. If they don't figure out a way to recreate gravity, it'll never work, because our bones have to have pressure. And so now we could say AVITA Yoga is a systematic way to bring pressure to all the different points in a joint, and to stimulate both joint health and bone density. I can just feel the bone density coming to life for me and my students. I can see it change. So it's a good alternative I think it's a fantastic alternative to a lot of the medical approaches to osteoporosis.
Wow. And so our body is a series of joints, right?
That's right.
And that promotes the mobility, the movement. And so where there is no focus on the joints and the bones and the tissue around it, because we've been conditioned to think that it's the muscle that's the problem. And you're saying that the muscle is not the muscle is not the cause.
The muscle is almost never the problem.
But we've been told that, and then we've built all of these gyms and spas where people go to get more muscle, and so um
It's
ultimately
visible.
ultimately long term, that's not a long term solution, is what you're saying.
No, no. Muscles, in fact, you can have big, strong, bulky muscles and have all kinds of joint problems because in some cases the muscles are so big that they literally get in the way of full movement. And so that's one of the problems. But the muscles actually start to take over good, healthy use of the bones and the joints. And so I think of it this way: is big, strong muscles can negatively insulate the bones and the joints. And as I said earlier, you have to use it to keep it. So the muscles, no problem. They will take care of themselves in this practice. As you get closer and closer to the bones, all kinds of good things happen.
Wow. Okay. So let's go with the second quote. Less is more. See, that goes against our conditioning. Less is more because we cannot truly heal and restore while seeking more of anything. And we live in a society where we are driven for more, right? And then
Yeah.
it says the power of now cannot be found in the future.
Yeah, it's like searching for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You can search all you want, you're never going to find it. Yeah. Yeah, and uh yeah, it's funny, when if people have been in lots of yoga and lots of fitness classes and they come into an Avita yoga practice, I spend a lot of my time with them. What I say, I end up talking them off the edge, because we're so conditioned to go to the edge and push and push. Like, no, 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 no. Please be gentle, be kind, and come off the edge, because when you get to the edge, it's kind of scary. It's a long way down sometimes. So no, 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 no. Come back. Come where it's nice and safe. And that's what I did with you, Oliver, is your wrist. But see how it's easy to go into the pain, because on a deep, deep level, like the Course in Miracles says, there is an attraction to pain. We don't want to admit that. But deep in the mind, we're attracted to pain because it promotes a sense of separation and a sense of false self. Like, who would I be without my pain? And I have to really want to know who I would be without my pain to really start to welcome it and get beyond it. But that's where we make the gains, is just this idea of less is more. And man, is it a beautiful thing. I,
Yes.
I've been practicing now steadily for 12 years. And yoga's been a part of my life now for 40 years. So I've tried everything. But this practice now consistently for 12 years. And to this very day, I'm blown away by the power of less is more. And you have to it's such a beautiful thing. You have to step into that. As you step into it, the idea of less and more brings more peace, more love, and more healing. And that's why it continues to be a truth.
Wow. Well, it's a truth for me because I have experienced um, the result of having peace. I have experienced the result of my joints in my lower back remodeling themselves, regenerating themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm getting ready to experience the joints in my wrist
Yeah.
and in my knees because I had already, listened to some counsel that I didn't want to go that route. And so this is so timely for me personally to have you here to remind me of that alternative way, which I know it's a better way, and it's a less expensive way too, right?
It's
And all of us want to keep our original parts. If we
yeah.
can, my mother, who's on here tonight, my mother is 91 years old. She'll be 92
Yeah.
in October, and mother still drives. Mother still maintain her home inside and out. Mother's actually goes to an exercise class on Tuesdays and Thursdays where they work on the stretching and the, just mobility is the goal. No weights. And so I know she's a living example also that you can age gracefully, right?
Totally.
Sleep peacefully,
Yeah.
dress yourself, shop for yourself. It can happen to you.
Yeah.
But it happens.
I had a
Yeah.
92-year-old student who would come to my classes 3 times a week. She was overweight when she started, but she lost the weight simply because the restrictions in her heart and mind started to drop. She regained mobility in her shoulders, her knees. She got so lit up by this practice. She just got amazing results. And the funny thing is, every time she would go to pay for a class or renew her membership or something, they caught it as fraud. Every time she was doing it, they thought it was fraud because of her age. And she would get so upset saying, "Relax, you guys, I'm doing my yoga." And it would just trigger it because of her age doing a yoga class. Anyway,
You gotta stay up here.
funny story.
Wow. Well, look, I know we
Going
are
over time.
working on time beyond what we normally work on, but hey, this is so important. But let me finish or kind of come towards the end to where people
Yeah.
may be able to take some actionable steps. We're getting more information and going a little deeper if this resonates with you, if Jeff resonates with you. Your meditation is actually, your yoga style is actually, you said it is a moving meditation that heals the body and the mind.
Yeah.
You also says that you use attainable shapes to rejuvenate tissue in and around the joints. This is what we've been talking about, correct?
Yeah, that's it.
You also said that it results in more health, more mobility, and peace of mind.
Yes,
So
sir.
how do you access this and go more deeply? Well, Jeff offers AVITA memberships. Jeff also is a teacher trainer to certify AVITA yoga teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff also provides retreats and workshops, live streams. He also provides AVITA yoga for a lifetime podcast.
Yeah.
Where I'm sure you share more information like this.
Yeah.
And I also saw on your website that you can explore AVITA with a free class.
There's a free class. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have placed in the chats on Facebook and YouTube your Jeff's website link is www.avitayogaonline.com. Is that correct?
That's it.
www.avita.avita AVITA yoga online.com. This is how you can connect with Jeff. I went through your website today. It's very user friendly. You see all the offerings there. And then is there a way to schedule a one-on-one consultation with you, Jeff?
Yeah. I do one-to-ones over Zoom like this. And if you have a laptop, works really well, but any kind of, even a camera will work. Just a heads up, if you want to do a private session, it's best if I can see your profile. And if you have a mat, you set up a mat like this, and then I can see the shapes, I can see the movements, I can ask the questions, and it's just a fantastic way to get started on some shapes that will address a specific problem. And I always recommend, because it's all connected, you could do the workshop for the knees, for example, and you'll get 3 classes and a handout and all the information you need to really start taking care of your knee. But at some point, most people are drawn to the whole series of classes to work through the whole body because it's all connected. And we want to undo all the patterns that contribute to any one problem because it spreads throughout the body. So in a nutshell, that's it.
Okay, well, truly community, there you have it. What
a gift.
What's been presented to us tonight is, I mean, can you really place a value on it? There's so much suffering among people in the world where they're losing their mobility, they're losing their peace of mind. They really think that something is seriously going wrong when in fact it's just a lack of knowledge. It's lack of awareness, right? And so there's a biblical scripture that says grace and peace is multiplied to us through the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And we have had a knowledge-based episode of Truly Live tonight where just the basics of what you share can be the beginning of transformation or breakthroughs for any and every one of you who embrace this idea, which I believe is a natural solution to just wrong conditioning and bad information that we all receive.
Yeah.
And so I just appreciate you being here tonight, taking the time out to come into our space here and share our stage. You can come here anytime you like.
Oliver, thanks
Because
such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. And so we will have a part 2 to this sometime in 2024.
All right.
I know we can work that out. It's really this what you shared is really needful. Last month we had because we've been focusing on health here this month, and 3 weeks ago we had an osteopath on and was helping women who focus on women health, and that was so beneficial. And so you have just added to the focus that we've been placing on health this month. And but we got to have you back, Jeff, and because we got to have Yolanda here. I have my grandson here, and he's doing a good job co-hosting. Yeah. And
yes,
we have some good news. And John don't even know this. While you was talking, Yolanda texted me to say that our granddaughter has come into the world. So this would be John Brooks's sister, and our second grandchild was just born at 8:01 today Eastern time.
Oh my gosh!
Yes,
beautiful! Wow, what a gift! That's a good sign for all of us.
That is a very good sign.
That's beautiful.
So
congratulations, John! You got a sister.
Yes. Vanessa Joe is her name, and
let's have some ice cream now.
Yes. And she's actually named after my son's birth mom, Vanessa. And so this is just going to be time to celebrate. When we get off of here, we're going to have some ice cream. We're going to get on Zoom. We're going to get on FaceTime, and we may even get to see the baby, on FaceTime tonight. But I certainly will be.
All right. Well,
we'll certainly be headed towards that hospital tomorrow. Yes. So anyway, well, there you have it.
Yeah.
Thank you again. I hope everyone who listened in to this live, or whether you're listening to the live or the replay, because really, really give some attention to this information because it can be life-changing for you. And so with that said, we're going to finish tonight like we always do, and that is we like to use the Dalai Lama's prayer, the Dalai Lama's loving meditation as a prayer that we pray and bless everyone that is listening to us and everyone that's not listening to us. In other words, we bless all who join with us and those we hold dear in our heart. And so, as it goes, may you be truly happy. May you live in peace. May you live in love. May you know the power of forgiveness. And may you live in the recognition that your life has deep meaning and good purpose. That's the Dalai Lama's loving kindness meditation. And Yolanda and I add, may you live in the awareness of who you truly are. We extend this blessing to every being on the planet, and so it is. And so, with that, I'm so happy and grateful that we had this time together. I'm so happy and grateful for the new being that has been born into our family within the last hour. I'm so happy and grateful for the mother and the father and the brother and the great, 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 great grandmother, because my mother had just added her second, fifth generation, and she's still here, healthy and whole, to be able to enjoy 5 generations on the planet at one time. That is a blessing. That is a blessing. And so with that, who are you?
Go Books.
And my name is Oliver, and together we are the OK Blues.
I know I have not always been what you want me to be. Even at times I pushed your sweet love away, but you stayed right here beside me, never letting me go. Now I know the love I needed was right here all along. I know that love to forgive all the hurt and pain. Love is enough to remove all you can change. Love is enough to make up for what you made. I know that love is enough. God's love is enough. God's love is enough.